Sheu. I think I probably should explain what I was talking about at the beginning. I didn't want to give too much about the program or anything, about like the shape I was talking about. And I think people, I'm guessing, maybe some people kind of could guess what I was thinking about, like even to, as the program kind of continues, even when we get into like very intimate, how do you say this, like, not spaces. Like it follows, it passes on. For example, I was kind of thinking about like it really focused on kind of the microscopic of everything. But I don't know if you know that meme of like the guy's brain like gradually expanding and then suddenly there's like the universe. And obviously like kind of the more obvious stuff with like collaborating with other people, and especially towards the end, thank you Shrine Maiden, it kind of continues that sort of like expansion just a little bit. So yes, that I just needed to like kind of quickly slip that in. I mean, kind of looking at your works and everything and thinking about, so much of these films are about your relationship to your family in Taiwan and everything like that. I'm kind of wondering, while you're making these films, your mind isn't focused on a specific thing regarding your family or Taiwan or your heritage and stuff like that, but I'm thinking about like as you're projecting or rewatching some of these films, how your relationship has changed with time, like making and then now.
My relationship with my films throughout the time, yeah, it is definitely, I'm sorry for like people who don't like astrology, but it is Mercury retrograding. I'm just like, whoa, it's like baby me. How's my relationship changed throughout the time? I guess it definitely, there's some film that definitely feel very young, like The Way Home. It's probably my first Super 8 film, like back in 2018 or 2017. And that's like, I moved to New York from Taiwan in 2016, and 2017 was just me, encounter like celluloid film media, and then encounter all this huge community in New York and meet other artists or same age and know that, and then it's like adapting. It's like found this experimental film method that is so tactile. So it's like it's so direct. You just see the images and you draw on film, and then you added the images based on the lens, based on the frames, and so it was like the first start, and then with I made a short history and then show people, and then people like, whoa, you have to keep making film, and I didn't know what I have, and so it's like, I don't know, it's like there's some freshness, but there are also things that like feels it's so really still close to me, like transcript. I feel like that's still how I process, or how I kind of, I don't know if it's numbing, I'm still figuring out what's going on there, but it's like how I really focus on just the sensation part, when even though there was a film made by thinking about how my family is affecting my intimate relationship, but then you go back to senses of you actually just feeling the emotion, and that's also so subtle that you try to engage with that, but it's still kind of distant, but also at the same time still feel like so real. So that thing is still very tied to me and till the present me. So.
I don't want to assume too much of like what catharsis you get when making it, but watching it was kind of feeling a little bit of that, of like definitely, the sort of sensations and everything really kind of dictates the emotions. I guess I'm also curious to know too, we were in LA, and I'm assuming that a chunk of the audience is like very multicultural to some degree, or like, diverse and everything. So we watch it with a certain lens. When you screen in other spaces, is with a certain lens as well. What is the difference, you think, with how do you experience what other people experience when they're in Taiwan watching your films versus here?
Yeah, that's something really worth to say. And I watch my film review on Letterboxd of my films all the time. It's fun. It's fun to see other people like. We'll talk about it later, but okay. So for our short history, there's a lot of Taiwanese audience actually hate it, and one Mandarin review on Letterboxd is actually and I like that review, is actually say that it's so short that the discussion of history is only elementary school student level, and which is I think that review comes with 2-3 years ago or more than that. Maybe 5 years ago or something, and I saw my first reaction seeing was you're damn right, because I do have criticism of this film, but then also the contest of making this film was 2017, and I took Movie class at the new school. It's called Recycle Images and something Recycle Images, but it's about a class that. You make film with found footage and all that, and it was one of my very first 16mm class where I made a short history, and it is I just moved to New York, and there were the historical there was a political event happening at the time too, where this Taiwanese artist and scholar Li Mingzhe, he was just detained in China out of with no reason when he traveled to China for a seminar, and so that was really based on that event. And I was having this desire of I need to say my name is Taiwan, and so I made the film, and it is for majority audience of not knowing what the hell Taiwan is, and things like that. So it is kind of a self introduction in a way. So but then it is in the American school setting, it makes sense. And people will see other things of maybe there's a lot of personal stories too behind a short history, like that idea of such a personal perspective is actually very collective, in terms of national or in terms of other personal feeling too, and that's where I want invited people to care about this, but it is for Taiwanese that. No, history is a lot more complex, and know that my perspective is actually just Han ethnicist perspective, and for some people that, but it's not speaking for all Taiwanese. So I criticism like that. I feel this is a whole. I don't know. I feel people should know that everything that project on the screen are questionable. This is not. This is not I tell you my diary film tell misleading you too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what you write in, a diary, inverted commas, is not a representation of an entire country or an entire nation's history and everything. I guess kind of moving on with now we're in a later part of your of the program, for example, for Film 2 and with False Expectations. They're both collaborative experiences. With For Film 2, Volume 2, I remember seeing For Film Volume 1 last year, and it was kind of ping-ponging between two people, and this is this sort of triangle, and I guess I can't exactly remember the process of it, but in terms of interacting with these people and collaborating with them, how would do you want to talk about that sort of collaboration as well as the collaboration with Shrine Maiden for False Expectations?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to start tracing back to my background of where I come from with this experimental film practice. Is when I was in New York, I made a really tight experimental film community, and I want to say it's really the remnants of the the 60s avant-garde film scene where like there's a venue where, like, for example, like Microsoft Gallery, and then you'll see Jonas Mekas just hanging out there, and then there's like a younger generation too, where like they all know each other and they'll show film to each other. And I want to say in New York it was Mono Hour, where I took a lot of workshop, and actually I forgot to thank, like, the zoom lenses on all the projector today is actually from Mono Hour. They just ship it to support this show to make it happen. And a lot of my film was like almost like really supported by Mono. Like transcript was like Mono had a 35mm workshop, and I was helping, and then Steve, the director of Mono, was like, hey, we have this camera until the end of the week, do you want to shoot something? So just make transcript on 35 like that. Yeah, so, and then, but, okay, for those who don't know Mono Hour, it's a cinematic art organization where they host a lot. It has a strong education initiative, which is really hosting a lot of workshop and a strong artist community around there too, where they would like host a lot of like micro cinema DIY screening. And then so this practice of workshop and screening that I've been having all this, like, I don't know, 8 years really from that. I'm going to go to the connection part. And Zian, who I made for film one, was actually, we met at Mono when we were in New York. So, and we're like both Taiwanese and both have very similar sentiments to film. So that's how we really started to like, always just share information about film festival or resources and film knowledge until 2021. We met, because he moved back to Taiwan, and then we met Rohan, where we, like, three of us decided to form a collective called Reflex, and Mandarin is called 后照镜, which means like rear view mirror, because the opposite of avant-garde, so it's a rear view mirror.
Oh,
and
twist.
And reflex sounds like reflex, so like animal film head diary film nerd, so we did that, and so then that's the first one too, and so it's like when I started, it's always this really collective practice, and it's like same at I met Ryan Bestrad, one of the two of Shine made, and when I went to Cal Arts, and he was teaching his film festival classes, and then similar relationship with like me and Zian, me and Ryan. So it's always like we're like share a lot of film from Mission Festival, and then we have a group chat of, we just always like, and Folsom Quotations come with Ryan and Rachel. They had a film festival called San Diego Underground Film Festival, which April 10 to 13 this year in San Diego. Please follow them. And it was 2 years ago, and then they were like, do you want to do something? Do you want to do experience cinema piece, and then we can do the sound? And I was like, okay. And then it was really just try to squeeze out something from pretty profoundly still from like what happened during that time of my life. So I hope it answered your question with all this mumbling.
Yeah, you did. I guess I'm kind of curious as well in terms of like the difference between collaborating with, I mean, I know Ryan from Shine Maiden is a filmmaker as well, but you're not working, it doesn't have this sort of like three, like multiple filmmakers like kind of pooling together. I mean, I guess how different it is between the two. Not that you should compare anything. But.
No, it's different. It's definitely similar and different. With Reflex is especially so Reflex function is Reflex the main thing we do was hosting like micro cinema for friends, and we based in Taiwan, but we also like would travel together to show film, or if it's somewhere like maybe like 2021, so I was in Rotterdam, and then he brought like three of us film in our collective work to like show a warm environment. And then last year we were in Japan and showing installation and collaboration work together. But in the meantime, we will always have like a cinema screening of like friends and artists, things like that. So. But so for film 2 is actually commissioned film, and it was from AAMP, who are, I won't say it's the same group of people of the Experimental Film Festival in Seoul, like ASIS, and same group of people in Space Cell Film Lab. Like, I mean, they're not exactly centered, but like they are a tight community. And what was the question?
Just what's it like to?
Okay, yes, okay. So because for film 2 is a commissioned film, and then they actually contacted on about this, and I had this idea of like has to be worked very equally. So, okay. Oh, the process of for film 2 is. This is actually important. Why did I mention this before? So 3 of us were in 3 different cities. Like, so I was in Paris for the residency. I'm here, obviously, and Rohan is in Taipei. And then each of us shot 2 rolls of 16mm film and then sent to the other 2 cities. And the person would double expose on top of that film. And then so a lot of like double exposure on the film is actually from like this 2 CD, but there is some digital like fake one, I think you can tell. And then so everything's very equal, and with the like we have all the footage that we shot together, and then we add in something more and on our own to make it more complete. And Zan edited a pass, and then Rohan edited a pass, and I edited a pass, and then we discussed together, and then got a 4th pass. So this is the 4th pass of the film, so it's like equally. But then like so this is the piece that we work really equally, which I like, yeah. But what we tried to make it was like, because we all like went to the same school, we are similar like aesthetic like education background, and like we work similarly. So they're like, oh, you do something, and then I know that they're just gonna do something on their own, and then you're just gonna work. So it just like that, just pretty organic, totally, yeah.
Very nice. I have more questions, but I also think I should throw it to the audience. Does anyone wanna? I can't see very well though. Okay, I guess I'll ask another. Oh wait, is that I can't really see. Sorry. Yeah, I guess my last question then is going to be this is such a very, I'm wording it very strange, but I don't mean it in the sense of like, what are you working on now? More, where is your mind at right now, actually?
Oh my God.
What are you thinking about, which could be like, you're making something, but it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah, it followed, False Expectation I made like April 2023, and it followed It Passes On, I finished it. I technically finished it like 2022, but then like never saying out, like I hated the piece, I don't know what it is, until a year later, like in like May or June 2023. So technically, It Follows It Passes On is my late film. So it's like 2 years past, and I've been super busy with like teaching and showing work and drawing myself, and then trying to. I feel like recently it's more connected to like I always want to make book, and then more channeling to my like illustrations side of it. And I feel like more recently I realized, it's because like how I don't know when to stop. I'm always like I feel like I never sit down since 2017 or and I feel like this desire of like making book, making written stuff, it's telling myself that I want to slow down, I want to process things. So I want to write more, and I feel like, because like I guess in the program now we talk about how explicit cinema is. Like I have so much to say about my father's hometown, but like Follows It Passing On, everybody watching it and be like, oh, it's so beautiful, and I hated it. And people just say it's so beautiful, but no, I was so much thing I have to say, and then realizing, okay, I actually have to write things down, and I think that translated into more maybe documentary, but I don't promise. So
that sounds good to me. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We're gonna hang out in the lobby a little bit. If you have questions for Erica, we can do it outside. We could also, if anybody wants to purchase a little like art piece that's sitting on next to the ticket counter. Yeah, let's hang.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.